watching on live. Evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the TDD show. And tonight's guest is Rob Muldoon, who is a bricklayer from Macclesfield. Rob has been a bricklayer for 20 years now. His current role is a project manager for a big brickwork company based in the northwest of England. So Rob himself has got another side to what he does, is what we're going to talk about tonight. Mental health. So welcome, Rob. Thanks for coming on tonight, buddy. Love to have you on.
No worries. Thanks for having us on. Thanks for bringing us down and showing me all this new stuff that you can do with streaming across several networks, which I never ever knew about.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? 3 different platforms in one hit.
Yeah, it is. It's a real good thing that it saves you trying to be on one platform all the time, which I'm guilty of doing more than other platforms.
Oh, 100%, mate. That's why everyone on live on Instagram, that's why I'm doing that tonight, to make sure they're on as well.
Excellent.
So, Rob, we just want to talk about, obviously, how you've gone from a bricklayer to a podcaster talking about mental health and stuff like that.
Yeah, so for me, like you said, I started off as an apprentice bricklayer back in the year 2000, worked my way up to be a project manager for a big brickwork company. I've actually left that big company now to do this work full time. I still do little bits of brickwork. I was laying 6-inch solid 10 Newton blocks today, which was never fun. But a few years ago, I went through a mental health journey, which I never thought I'd go through. Basically, I just wasn't prioritizing me and what I needed to do for me.
Yeah.
And I pushed myself to my limits. I almost lost my marriage. I almost lost my home life. Was making bad choices at home, bad choices at work, bad choices in general, because my mind wasn't clear. It was very foggy with everything that was going on, and I never wanted to speak about it. And then once I started to talk about it, things became a little bit easier, and I started to understand things and reasons why I was feeling like that, and why I was making choices, and what was the problem, or really the problem, when I thought it was other things that were the problem.
Yeah.
And then I changed it up a bit, and one day I was sat in my office on one of the sites I was working on in Liverpool, and I thought, there's got to be a better way of getting this message out there. My biggest problem was I wasn't talking, and a podcast is all about talking, and that's what I did. So I started the MYHP podcast 2.5 years ago now, and it has sort of grown arms and lengths and take me to some amazing places and tons of building sites, and out on tours now in that brightly coloured transit that you see me knocking about in. And I just absolutely love it. I really, really do love doing this work that I do now, Tony.
Good, mate. Yeah, because you've just been to Scotland, haven't you?
Yeah, I've just done a week up in Scotland. I love going to Scotland every time I'm up there. We spoke to over 750 tradespeople, letting them know about all the services the Lighthouse provide. So the Lighthouse is a construction industry charity that is there to help and support you with your physical, financial, and mental well-being. But not only can they help you, they can help your immediate family as well. So partners, kids, everything like that. Think of it, it's a bit like an employee assistance program, but it goes a lot further, and everything they do is totally and utterly free as well. I mean, they can even help you with things like if you're getting kicked out of your house for whatever reason and you need help being rehomed, they can help you with all that. There's just tons and tons and tons of stuff that they can help me with.
Well, that's what you want. Like you said, it's all about talking, isn't it?
That's the
hardest thing in yourself. You want to keep it to yourself, especially us males in the construction industry, etc. You want to keep it to yourself because you think no one wants to listen to me. Or you think I haven't got any problems, and deep down you have.
Yeah, or you think, my problem's not as bad as Tony's problem,
Yeah,
so I don't need to talk
I'm not
about it
gonna talk about
because it's I shouldn't have to be worried about that. When in reality, if it's having an effect on your life and your day-to-day decisions, and it's keeping you awake at night, stopping you eating, making you overeat,
it.
making
Yeah,
you constantly bury yourself into work, or have that extra drink on a night out or in the evening, it's having an effect on your life, and something needs to be done about it. And there's a big challenge for people to admit that they've got something going on. And a lot of the time, like for me, I never understood it. I never understood why I was feeling like this and what was going on, and how to deal with all the new emotions and the way things are all the new emotions and things that are happening to me. I mean, at the time I was like 32, 33, 34, 35
yeah.
years old, and I was like, I should be able to look after myself and understand my emotions and understand why I'm feeling like this and understand what's going on with me. I'm a grown man at the end of
Yeah.
the day, but in reality, I didn't. And I just let
You're
it.
not taught these emotions, are you?
What was that? Sorry?
You're not taught these emotions. You just you.
No, no, you're not. There's not. I mean, like that. One of the big things for me is when kids came along. Like it was a big upheaval in our life. Me and Louise have been together for 13, 14 years before we
Yeah.
started to have kids. And Lou's priorities changed when the kids came along.
Oh, it does. Yeah,
100,
massively.
100% get that now, but at the time I didn't. But I
Mm.
did nothing about it because that's
Yeah.
what we do. We just shut up, we just crack on, and we get on with work, don't we? Turn up
Yes.
to work every day, out on site. All right, lads, you all right? Yeah, let's get on with it. And that's what I was doing. When in reality, I was just turning myself inside out because I didn't want to open my mouth and talk about it.
Do you think it was because you were working so much, or was you working away at the time, or?
Yeah, I did used to do work away a lot. I did about 3 or 4 years doing MOD bases, and I was traveling up and down the country with that. And a lot of the time, I was just choosing to ignore it. I was
Yeah.
just choosing to ignore it, and then because of that, I used to bury myself in work. Because like another thing I struggle with is, like, if anybody's watching who's seen me deliver one of the talks that I do on site, is I really struggle with a thing called imposter syndrome, or inner saboteur, however you want to do it. And I can stand up and talk in front of as many people that will come and listen to me talk.
Yeah.
That doesn't bother me or phase me in any single way. What I do struggle with is I struggle with my own abilities. I have no belief or faith in anything I do. So whether that's the podcast work, whether that's the brickwork, whether it's the site management stuff that I used to do, I always think somebody can lay a brick better than me. Somebody's got a more impactful story than me. Somebody can run sites better than me. And because of that, I massively overthink. And because I was overthinking, I used to bury myself into work because I never wanted anybody to ask me something. Why is the cavity build up like that? And why are you off the critical path? And what's going on with this? And what's
Yeah. You
going
should
on
be alone and just want to shut off and just that's it.
Yeah, because well, I never wanted to turn around and say I don't know, because I always used to think that if I turn around and say I don't know, then they're going to think I'm no good at my job and so on and so forth. And that's
Yeah.
why I used to massively overwork. And I used to think that's what I had to do. I had to grind out every single day to provide for my family, because I thought, you get up, you go to work, you earn your money, you pay your bills, you go to bed, you do it again. And that's what I thought life was, when in reality it's way more than that.
Yes. Was it they say? Uh, is it eat, sleep, and repeat, or
Eat,
eat?
sleep, rave, repeat. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
it. That's what you think,
yeah,
don't you?
yeah, massively. And like, it totally and utterly consumed me. And this had nothing to do with working for a bad company, far from it. They were
Mm.
a great company to work for, and if I'd opened my mouth a lot sooner, I would have got the help a lot sooner. But it took me to push myself to my limits till something was done about it. And even when I did come back to work and start to get myself good again, my old boss, he hates being called a boss, but my old boss, he helped he helped me choose and mold my career that I wanted to do. He'd give me time off to go and do whatever I needed to do. If it was like in the very, very early days of the podcast, he'd let me go off and do whatever I needed to do, and he'd pay me for it still, as long as it wasn't days and days on end.
Yeah.
But if I needed an afternoon off, not a problem, go and sort it out. Or if I needed to go and do a meeting or sit and write something on the computers, he'd let me do whatever I needed to do.
Well, that's handy then, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was good. It really was. It was great to be supported because we all need. We can't do everything on our own. Like just before we came on, we were having a chat about everything that I've got going on and you've got going on, and sometimes you need a bit of help.
You do, 100%, mate. You don't realise until you get the help that you actually needed the help.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. That.
Yeah, we all think we're superhuman. You know, that's it. I'm a male. I can do it all myself. I can just take everything on, all on the shoulders, keep going on. But you can't. You need a team around you, basically, or people around you to help you go through life.
Yeah, definitely. And like you look at a lot of very successful people, that they'll say to you, it's the team around them that have made them successful.
100%, mate.
Your skill set can only take you so far. Sometimes you need somebody else to come in with a bit of a newer way of thinking and brighter ideas or different skill set to your own, and you work together well as a team.
Yeah, and it's also listening to their ideas as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good point. Listening, it's all well and good having people around you, but if you're not listening to them and not letting them do what they're good at, then there's no point in having them.
Well, it's pointless. I say on site with the lads, you know, we'll discuss about options of how to do something. If someone's got a different idea, we all bang heads together and we think, okay, that's a good idea. We'll add that into what I was thinking, and it's going to be more efficient. It's all
Definitely. Yeah, because there's like when I used to run the site, so I've been doing it 23 years now, and I still don't know everything about bricklaying. I'm still learning all the time, and there was times when I would have been doing a job and something's not quite going right with it, and I won't be able to figure it out. I'd go and speak to individual bricklayers that I know that had got years and years of experience, and be like, right, what's going on with this, and what's happening here, and how do you think that is? And they give me the little bit of knowledge, and I go, yeah, that's why it is, and I go and sort it out. Like we did, I did some big student accommodation up in York, and so it was steel structure, and then it had SFS, so like stud walling, steel stud walling with insulation and channel ties on it. Then we skinned it off in brickwork, and you leave like between movement joint to movement joint, you'd leave a panel down, so as like a slab edge loading bay, so you could get everything in the building as it's being built, and it's always the last panel to be zipped up at the end.
right.
And we were doing the infill, and there was about 130 courses up in the air. And
nice.
the lad turned around to me, he was like, the bricklayer said, I've got a course of pig in this. So it was out of gauge by a course. And I stood there for about an hour thinking, why is this wrong? And trying to figure it out. And I couldn't figure it out. I knew I had another gang of bricklayers around the corner, Pat, he must be pushing 70 years old now. I went round to him and said, Pat, I need your help with this. I can't figure this out. Told him what had gone on. He went round there and he said, right, leave me alone, give me 15 minutes and I'll sort it out. Anyway, less than 15 minutes later, he rang me back. He said, come back up here, I know what's wrong with it. So when they had put the window openings in the steel work for us to brick up to, they'd put it 75mm too high. So the whole window was 75mm too high. And that's what was throwing it out. And I was like, oh God, I must have looked at that about 50 times and I couldn't see it.
It makes it worse when you're staring at it.
Yeah. Sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees, can you?
That's it, yeah, 100%.
And he came along, fresh eyes. He wasn't flustered or anything. Looked at it, told me what it was. Within 15 minutes, it was rectified, and we could carry on with the brickwork.
Yeah. So, mate, so let's talk about the story of you, you know, and your own personal journey and mental health. That because obviously, is that what caused the whole journey of you doing the MYH podcast and stuff like that?
Yeah. So 2015, I sort of noticed things were like sort of changing for me. I think I'm pretty strong-minded in the sense that a lot doesn't bother me. I don't let a lot of things phase me.
Yeah.
I am very much go with the flow. Don't get me wrong. I can flip sometimes, but it's a moment and it's over and done with. But around about 2015, a lot of things started to change for me. I was noticing more things were happening. I got married, started having kids, got a promotion, did the biggest job we've done up to date, bought a house, all the usual things that go on in life. But I struggled to understand all the new ways of life and new responsibilities, both at home and in work. But again, I did absolutely nothing about it, never spoke about it, never reached out to anybody and said, have you ever felt like this? I just pushed through, carried on going, and it started to get worse. And then, like I said before, that I struggled with my own abilities at work. I never thought I was good enough to do my job, and I always thought I was going to get kicked out or booted off, or somebody's going to come and say, right, Rob, we know you're not meant to be here. It's time for you to go. So because of that, I used to massively overwork. I used to work and work and work and work because I never wanted to be caught out. But even then, it was never good enough, or I felt it was never good enough. I could never work hard enough or long enough because I always thought I can do better and beat myself up over silly mistakes that I'd done and try as hard as I could. But it used to just totally and utterly consume me. And again, I did absolutely nothing about it. I never spoke to anybody about it. I never did anything about it. I just pushed it down and pushed it down and pushed it down.
Just keep trying to persevere with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Trying to persevere with it and try to keep going with it. And then it was just a number of things all coming, lots and lots of little problems that were all coming to a head, and just not putting myself first and not putting my family's needs first. And I just imploded. I just couldn't take it anymore. And Lou made the choice for me. She left for a little bit. She said to me, "Look, I can't be with you anymore. You're just destroying yourself, and you're making these poor decisions, and you're not doing what you need to do. And until you sort yourself out, me and the boys are going."
Yeah.
And she moved back in with her mum and dad for about 3 months of it. But she moved back into her mum and dad's for a bit, and I was at home, and I thought, right, I need to do something about this. And then that's when I started to talk about stuff. I started to open up and started to try and deal with what was going on and what was causing me all these problems and what was causing me to not look after myself or look after anybody else that I was with. And once I started to do that and started to come to reality and deal with all that sort of stuff, it became a little bit easier. The pressure released a bit, the tap released a bit of
Yeah.
pressure, and I started to feel better in myself. I started to feel better in the relationship. It took a lot of work to get it back together, because I mean, me and Lou have been together since we're like 18 years old, and at the time we were 36, something like that, 35.
Long time,
So
isn't it?
yeah, it's a long time together. We weren't 17, 18-year-old kids anymore, and a lot of change, and kids have come
Or
along,
family.
and yeah, responsibility of a mortgage and being the only one bringing money into the household.
Yeah.
And it's just, like I said, it's lots and lots and lots of little problems
They
which
stack up,
lead.
don't they?
Yeah, they do, they stack up. It's a thing that if you're looking after yourself and you're keeping yourself in a good place, you can deal with that sort of stuff. But because I wasn't, it just built up and built up and built up and built up till it went bang, and I couldn't take it anymore. And I I just exploded and started to do the work on myself and started to build the relationship back with Louise, and started to build a relationship with my kids, because I had no relationship with my kids for the first 3 or 4 years. Like they quite literally be strangers in my own home, and I struggle how to deal with them not sleeping, not eating something, no patience for them.
Yeah.
And I am still can be like that with them, and I have to stop it, start again. And I think Lou thinks I'm still very short with them, which I am. Like I can put up with bricklayers screaming in my face all day long. It does not bother me. It does not fade me. But the kids, I don't know why, they can send me from 0 to 300 mile an hour in an instant. But then in the next breath, I'm having a great time with them.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's 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 very difficult to explain sometimes, and sometimes people don't quite get it because they have this like overwhelming love for him. Because like when Seb was, I told everybody at work that Lou was pregnant with Seb, our eldest boy, they'd all say to me like, "Oh, you'll have this huge, overwhelming rush of emotion, and you'll never
Yeah.
love anything more." And all this, I never got that. I never got that huge rush of emotion or anything like that. I was like, "Is this it?" I thought I was meant to feel something. I thought I was meant
Yeah.
to, and I didn't.
Expecting something else.
Yeah, and I didn't know how to handle that, and I didn't know what to do. I mean, my mum had been a childminder for most of my life, so I knew how to change the dirty nappies, and I knew feeding and all that sort of stuff. But like when it came to Seb, well, because I wasn't in a good place, I was like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to feed him. I don't want to change his nappy. I don't want to
Yeah.
do anything with him. And again, that it compounded the problem. It was just making it worse and worse and worse. Whereas now, like I came home from work last night, I rang Lou up and because it was a nice night, I said, "Oh, we've still got a bit of daylight. I'm gonna take the dogs out for a walk, and I'll take the boys. Ask the boys who wants to come with me." And two of them, the two older boys, wanted to come out for a walk with me. And I went and had an hour out with them and just had a laugh and
Yeah. Is that
just
since you reckon that since you started talking then to other people about your problems, that's what the journey helped you to improvement?
yeah, definitely, yeah, because like there's been a few other people that spoke to and went, yeah, I get it. I know exactly how you feel. I feel exactly the same, and this is what's bothering me, and that's what's bothering me. And I'm not keeping it in. I'm not letting it chew over and over and
Yes.
over and over and over and over. Because once you start talking about stuff, you could have something that's running around your head, and you're like, what am I doing? And this is wrong and that's wrong. But once you start talking about it, as you're talking, you're like, ah, that's why.
Yeah.
All I need to do is this, this, and this, and that's what it is. I mean,
Yeah,
like a lot of the
sometimes
people.
you're thinking it, aren't you? And then it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
takes someone else out of the situation just to come in and say, "There you go, that's the problem."
yeah, exactly that, Tony, and it's exactly that. And it might make perfect sense to somebody else, but you could be just letting it consume you and turn over and turn over and turn
Yeah.
over, and you don't know which way to turn sometimes with it all. So
Yeah,
that,
100%, mate. 'Cause I've been in a similar situation which not many people know, like the same with mental health and stuff. So I used to work, like I was doing 90 to 100 hours a week, just working through because I didn't know anything else. I didn't know, like you said, I didn't know what else to do,
mm,
and you just sat there overthinking things. And I'm like, well, if I just go to work, I'll be okay.
yeah,
But then you'll have like a little journey, so you'll be driving somewhere, and all these little things just come ahead, and I think, I wonder what it'd be like if I just drove into this wall or drove off this cliff or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Just all these little things would come through my head sometimes,
mm. So
and
you
then you
started
think,
to get intrusive thoughts with it all.
that's it, mate. Yeah, and then you're thinking, I shouldn't be thinking this. I've got I've got I've got a wife and kids at home. Why am I getting these weird thoughts? And then I just bury my head into the sand more, just thinking about work, just working even more. And then you get in a cycle, like you said. You just get up, eat, work, sleep, and that's it.
Mm.
Nothing else.
You know, when you were like burying yourself into work, did you do it because you thought that's what you had to do because you're the provider and
Yeah.
did,
Yeah. So
did
like, because in your head you're the provider, you're trying to provide for your family, but then it was also a case of you didn't have to talk to anyone about it. You could just shut off at work and try and just ignore it because you're
yes,
focusing
yeah.
on your work then.
And did you notice, like, when you started to get like the intrusive thoughts and stuff, were you noticing like a drop in your efficiency at work
Yeah.
and
Massively.
your standard of work
Yeah.
was slipping, and you'd go to work and feel non-productive, and you
Yeah.
just walk around in a daze?
Yeah. And you look back and you think, I don't know what I've done here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's just little things like that.
This is it, because I used to think that I used to cheat myself all the time, saying more I do today, less I have to do tomorrow.
Mm.
When in reality, it's a false economy, because
Yeah.
I'll have that. Doesn't matter how much I do today, I'm gonna have the same conversation with myself tomorrow,
Yeah.
and it's never good enough. I haven't done enough. I haven't done enough. And for a long time, it took me to realise that you can only do what you can do in the hours
That's
that
it.
you've
Yeah.
got. You can't do no more. You need to switch off. You need to stop. You need to. It's like in the talks I say. Imagine going to the gym and doing bicep curls constantly and never giving your biceps any time off. never giving them a break, never giving them time to rest and recover. You're not feeding your body properly, and they're going to break at some point, aren't they? And it's exactly the same what you do to your mind. Your mind's still a muscle. It's the most complex muscle in your body.
Yeah,
And
it
if
is.
you're
Yeah,
not flexing it constantly and working it hard and harder and harder and harder, it's going to go bang at some point.
yeah. So hopefully anyone that's watching this or listening to this show, contact Rob, contact anyone else. If you
Yeah,
want to talk about
definitely. Yeah.
any of these things, because Rob and other people are here to listen to you people. Even myself, if you want to drop me a message, I'll listen to you.
Yeah, definitely, because communication is key. It really,
Yeah.
really is. And it can sound very bougie and a very hippie if you want, but talking really, really does save lives.
Yeah,
It really, really does.
it does massively. Yeah, but I find in the construction we're all men, aren't we?
Yeah. You see,
Can't,
tough,
can't talk about
and yeah, and you've got to be tough to work in this environment. There's no
anything.
two ways about it. Working in construction is a tough old game,
Yeah,
and you need the grit and determination to push through. Because I'm sure you've worked on projects where you're behind, the weather's against you,
that's
you're
it.
running out of money and budget, customers a nightmare. And you need to get that job over the line. But if you're looking after yourself and you're keeping yourself in a good place and doing what you need to do for you, you are able to push through and you are able to deal with that extra bit of stress and that extra grind to get
Yes.
that job finished over the line, and you can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in a bad place and you're not looking after yourself and you're eating crap, not drinking enough water, just drinking coffee all the time, and trying to sustain this lifestyle on a few hours sleep, it's no good. You can't do it. You're gonna burn yourself out. There's no way that you can run an engine for years with on cheap crap fuel and crappy oil and expect it to perform like an F1 car. It ain't gonna happen.
It ain't gonna happen. No, never. That's me. You've got to look after yourself. Look after yourself. You get yourself in the right headspace then, and then everything else comes nicer and smoother after that. Then, doesn't it?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. You are the most important tool you have. You can have the £3 million digger sat outside all shiny and new. But if the operator's not in a good place, that machine's worthless to you because it can't perform because the person operating is not in a good place to perform and operate that piece of equipment. And we're exactly the same. We've got to look after us so we can be there and we can be present for people that rely on us. We like physical health gets run down your physical safety, sorry, gets run down your neck on site, hard hat, PPE, boots,
Oh yeah,
everything like that. Whereas nobody really speaks openly and honestly about, you're okay, are you sure you're all right? Because you could be in a bad place,
yeah, 100%.
and then you could go out on site and not be thinking and fire a nail gun through your hand or slip off a scaffolding, or even worse, cause an accident and your own death through that. So
Hmm.
these are all the factors that people don't realize, and just I was guilty of it for years. That I'm all right, I can just push through. I'm all right, I can get there. I don't need to think about that. I've got this to do. I've got too much to do. I don't have time to look after myself. I'm pushing myself down the priority list.
Yeah,
But if somebody rings me up on a Sunday night and says, "Can you sort this out for us?" I'll be like, "Yeah, I'll sort that out for you." Instead
mm.
of saying, "No, I need a bit. It's a Sunday. It's my
Yeah, it's
time.
my time. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I'll sort that out for you on Monday. It's not a problem. But at the moment, I'm just dealing with me and looking after me, so I can be there on Monday for you."
100%. So you would say talking is the biggest thing that got you personally out of mental health?
Yeah, massively. Talking was a big thing for me, um, and acceptance as well. Accepting that I had something wrong and something wasn't quite right, and then allowing myself to deal with it, because we try and put these things off and ignore it. I haven't got anything wrong with me. I don't want to do that. I don't, because a lot of time people think mental health is depression, anxiety, and you're stuck in bed and you can't get out of bed.
Yeah,
Absolutely, that can be the reality for a lot of people. For me, that wasn't the reality. My reality was I got up every day. I turned up to work. I showed up, but I showed up too much.
Yeah.
And it was affecting me massively. Some people turn to drugs and alcohol. I never turned to drugs and alcohol. I might have drank a little bit more than I usually would, but I never had any desire to take any drugs. I never had a desire to go out and get absolutely smashed every single night, or drink 15 cans of beer or 20 cans of beer every night. Mainly because I was at work all the time. But I chose not to come home and deal with what was going on. I chose to stay in work. I had security guards saying to me, "Rob, if you want to stay here all night, you can do. It's not a problem. But once we lock these gates, that's in. You're locked in with a night guard." And I was choosing to not deal with what I was going through. I thought if I ignore it, it'll go away, and it really didn't. But once I started talking about it, and once I started letting go, and once I started giving back to myself and stopping myself overthinking things and allowing myself to heal and allowing myself to accept what was going on, it started to become a little bit easier for me.
Yeah, definitely. So what would be your biggest piece of advice to other people that may struggle with mental health and they don't want to talk about it?
I would say you'll be surprised when you start to talk about it how many people will listen to you
Yeah.
and can relate to you, um, and to definitely reach out to somebody like myself or the
Mhm.
Lighthouse Club or several other. There's loads of people now on social media that I've got good platforms that can help you with that, and you'll be massively surprised. Um, it's scary, it's hard, it's the hardest thing to do, but once you do reach out, it all becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And when you are getting a little bit of help, it's going to be difficult because you've conditioned yourself for so long not to talk and push it down and ignore it, and try not to bring it up to the surface to deal with it. When you do start to bring it up to the surface and you do start to deal with it, it's hard and you don't want to do it. But once you push through and get through that, and you start to realize, and you're like, oh my God, now
Yeah.
I get it. Now
Or
I get it.
yeah.
It's massively released. So definitely, I think a golden bit of advice is to reach out, even if you don't want to. Reach out to somebody who you feel safe talking to, whether it is, like I said before, myself or one of the several other people that are out and about that are doing it, or somebody in your workplace that you feel comfortable with, or because a lot of the time as well, people don't want to talk to people at work, and they don't, because we are private people. We don't want everybody who we work with knowing that you might have a big debt problem that's causing a problem, or a drug problem, or gambling problem, or whatever the situation
Yeah.
is. You might not want your work colleagues to know that and understand that, what you're going through. And the same with your family. You might not want to speak to your family about it, because I was ashamed a lot of the time. I was ashamed
I'd
of the
say
way I
that,
was
yeah, you got
being.
no shame, do you?
Yeah, and I was ashamed at how I was feeling and what I was doing and stuff like that. So sometimes it is easier to talk to a stranger, because as well, partners can well, I guess be sick of hearing it
Yeah.
sometimes. If you, because a lot of people say to me, "Well, I'm talking to my partner, and they're not helping me with it." Sometimes the partners can be consumed because it's very difficult to live with somebody who is going through something, and it can affect them as well. And speaking to a stranger, like, they don't know the background, they don't know you, they don't know any other details. They'll sit, listen, non-judgmentally, let you get it off your chest, and they might just give you that bit of advice to go, oh yeah, I could do it like this, or why don't you try this, or
Yeah.
that sounds really, really tough what you're going through. I've never been through that, but maybe if you speak to this individual, or maybe if you speak to that individual, or maybe if you do this or do that, it can help you. And that's the beginning of getting better. Because a lot
Yeah.
of people think, oh, I don't want to go to my doctor's, he'll stick me on tablets. Look, tablets work for people. They
Mhm.
really, really do. And if tablets is for you, absolutely go for it. It
Yeah.
really can be a lifesaver and a life changer for people. But then other times it can be, you might just need to tweak a few things in your routine and tweak the way you look at situations and what you do. And that can be enough to change it. And like we
Yeah.
said before, don't eat as much crap, don't drink as much coffee, don't drink as much beer and stuff like
These
that.
little
I'm
things
not
do have
saying,
an effect on you, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Imagine, like, when I was up in Scotland last week, there was a lad there. He's like, I can't stop drinking energy drinks. I was like, why? How many did you drink? He's like, well, I think we'd seen him at about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He's like, I've had 12.
Bloody hell.
So not only is it costing him a fortune, because like
Yeah,
£2.50 a can or whatever, is the big ones.
yeah.
And I said, you must be absolutely wired. He's like, I can't feel it. I can't feel it. So his body had built up such a tolerance to it that he needs to keep. And it's no good running on that stuff
Definitely not.
constantly.
I'd be bouncing off the walls, I would.
Yeah. I don't I don't like them.
I don't. Because you'll have a massive high and then you have a
Yeah,
bigger crash.
yeah. Because well, I mean, I used to do thousands of miles driving with work. Like like you get sweets for the journey, don't you?
Yeah.
And you'll have a sweet, and you're like, right, I'm awake, I'm all right. And then once that sugar starts wearing off, you feel yourself going, oh, I'm tired here, and I don't know why.
Don't eat Haribo's and drive, kids.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
So, God, that took me that one. Uh, that was good, mate. I said, sorry, my phone just started vibrating.
So have you? What was the biggest thing for you? What was the biggest change for you?
So for me personally, it was I managed to do it on my own.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I managed to sort out my headspace personally. So through work, and then I analysed. Well, I sat back basically, looked about where I want to be. For me, I've got an unconditional love for my kids.
Yep.
So I said I can't do this to them.
Yep.
So I've basically planned out what I want to provide for my children in their future, and that's how I got around it personally myself. And then I've knuckled down in work, started to think about it more logically,
Yep.
more efficiently in work, and that's when things eased up a little bit. But then also building a great team. So like now I find myself I've got a great team around me, which helps
Yeah.
massively. Before I had, it was myself basically doing everything.
Yep.
You're trying to run a business and do all the work, managing, pricing up all the jobs. You know what it's like. It's a pain in the ass. You're doing absolutely everything
Yeah.
yourself, and it just builds up. Too much stress then. But like I said, now I feel like I've got a great team around me, not just within the construction, within the production stuff as well, helping out on the side. It's just a massive relief. So I can concentrate on for myself, for
Yep.
growth of the company and stuff like that, where I want to be.
And have you noticed a massive difference in both business and personal life?
Yeah, definitely. Like saying like now, mate, I'm a lot calmer now than I've ever been.
And you can deal with more situations than you could have previously.
Yeah. So like it'd be more of like previously it'd be the anxiety or the overthinking non-stop. So I'll be in bed and I couldn't sleep properly.
Mm,
My sleep pattern was shocking because I'd be thinking about absolutely everything non-stop. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and think about, I don't know, a random job that I don't even need to think about. Maybe something
yeah,
so small and stupid, like, oh, I need to get a box of screws in the morning. It's like two
yeah,
o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, you're constantly thinking about work because you're doing it so much.
yeah. I used to be petrified of forgetting something.
That's it. Yeah, you are. You just constantly you don't want to ruin something. You don't want to forget something because you think, oh, that's going to ruin the day tomorrow else.
Yeah, like I spoke through the podcast. I spoke to a few people that run businesses, and one of the guys, he was so scared that either him or his team would do a bad job for the customer, that
Yeah.
he knew that they wouldn't do a bad job, but he let that eat him up inside.
Yes.
And I think, and another thing as well, Tony, I think speaking of like jobs, especially on the domestic side of things, I speak to a lot of people say I can't seem to be making money on these jobs, and I price them and it's not going right, and the
That's
customer's
it, mate.
saying that they want this way or that way. I think people need to manage not only their own expectations but customers' expectations too,
Yeah.
because you might have this vision in your head of what it's going to look like, and your budget is say 100 grand for an extension, and it's a huge amount of money, and the people that you're working for, they might think 100 grand, it's going to be all singing and all dancing. Whereas me and you both know in reality, that's probably just a plaster finish for a double wrap round
That's
extension.
it. Yeah.
If that, at this stage in the game at the minute, the price of stuff. But
I say material prices are ridiculous, aren't they? So
yeah, and people think they're going to get it like a show house when in reality it's not actually like that. And people can start to lose money, and then they can start to lose focus, and then they start making rash decisions
yeah,
because they're not. They think I need to get this done because we're hemorrhaging money left, right, and centre. So they start not cutting corners, but they're not finishing as they should and can
would.
do. And it's little things like that, and then that's when you find yourself 2 o'clock in the morning, laid there wide awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking, "What am I going to do? And how am I going to sort this out? And what's going to be my next move?" And then all of a sudden your alarm's going off. You think, "Oh my God, I've not slept. I've got
Yeah.
to go to work and perform and be there." And it can be a vicious circle going round
Oh,
and round and round.
So I'm going to do soon. I'm going to do a video on that. So talking about how I've learned to start running a business properly.
Yeah,
Because not, I've been doing this for 6, 7 years now.
yeah,
It's only till recently, I'd say the last year, I've started actually noticing how to run a business properly,
yeah.
efficiently. So soon I'm going to open up and do a video on how I figured all this out and the steps I take now to run an efficient business. So other people can hopefully then take in what I said and what I've learned and try and use those practices for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, we're all tradespeople and we all know our trade, no matter what it is.
Yeah,
But none of us, when you do your apprenticeship, none of us get taught how to do a tax return. None of us get
no
taught how
one's
to
taught
price a
business, are
job. Yeah, nobody's taught how to run a business.
they?
They
No,
tell you how to wire the house up or wire the whatever you're doing up or plaster or whatever it is. You get taught all that, and we're all really, really good at that. And I think people that go into this, into the construction industry, we're very creative, we're very hands-on, we're very tactile and
100%,
touchy-feely. Not all of us want to. Not all of us want to sit at a computer for hours pricing stuff. It's it it doesn't fit with their skill set, like we were talking about before. Whereas if somebody like yourself, Tony, can put these videos out on just a little insight of what works for you. It might not work for them, but it
that's
works
it.
for you. But somebody else could watch it and go, "Oh, actually, I'm going to try that," and then they go, "Oh, that's made a huge difference in my life."
It's like this
And
little video you've done recently about jotting down notes at the end of
yeah,
the
yeah,
day, something like that. It
yeah,
just had headspace up a little bit. Something
yeah,
little and small as that. You write it down, then you know, okay, tomorrow I've got to do X, Y, Z. You
yeah,
can go home and try and relax then.
yeah. That's it. One less thing to think about. I mean, the comments on TikTok, the comments on TikTok. But somebody said to me, "Well, you're telling people how to do the obvious." I'm like, it may be obvious to you, dude, but to
Yeah,
other people, it might not be that obvious.
yeah. Some of the comments are
And
ridiculous, though, aren't they?
oh, they are, yeah. And I ignore them now. I just totally and utterly ignore them, and it builds engagement, so it's good.
Yeah,
And sometimes people have valid points. Like I had a one go really well on TikTok, and they were moaning at the way. What were the like stupid comments like, "Why are you spreading that way and laying that way?" And your mortar looks really stiff. I'm like, well, if you look, the block were wet on that particular day, and you
yeah.
don't want your mortar like water because it'll
Also,
just sink
yeah.
and go all over. And I thought, you've never laid a brick in your life. But if you want to comment and come out with all these silly comments, absolutely fine. Come at me. I'll listen to them all day long.
You got to learn when you're doing the social media stuff. You got to have a thicker skin, haven't you? Because else it can
Oh
eat
yeah,
away absolutely everything. People are going to judge you all the time. They're going to knock you. Let's say for myself, we're new to the social media stuff. Our videos aren't going to be as good as some of the higher followers, the influencers. People are always going to judge you, but as long as it doesn't bother you and you're happy doing what you're doing, you're trying to help others. You just keep that journey going. That's where you'll improve, and you start increasing up.
this is it. And I say to a lot of people, march to the beat of your own drum.
Yeah,
It just keep doing you as long as you're happy doing it. And if you have made a mistake, so, somebody could give you a valid pointer like, you have done something wrong. Yep, I've done it wrong. I hold my hands up. I learn from it, and we move on. But if somebody wants to give you abuse, it's their problem, not yours. Let them give you the abuse, and just like when I do get like serious what's it called, trolling, I just ignore it. I don't give them the rise. I don't say anything to them. I don't share anything. I don't do anything. I just leave them alone.
They're just fishing for it. That's all.
Yeah, they are. Of course they are. Yeah, absolutely, mate. And like you say, you do have to have the thicker skin, but it soon becomes like water off a duck's back. You get used to it and ignore it, and you keep going.
100%, buddy. So why we can see behind you there, mate. You're on your computer. Can you talk to us what you've got on behind your computer there and what it's for?
Yeah, so on the screen there, I've got the latest episode of podcast, which should be coming out Sunday. It's episode 27 now. Is it 27? Yeah, I think we're on 27, 26 or 27. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And it's the system that I use to edit the podcast is Adobe Premiere Pro. And that is a massively powerful bit of software, and I can use like pushing 1% of its capabilities, but it's bringing it together and getting it done. So that'll be out soon, Sunday hopefully. And also I've just started it'll probably be with next month's episode, a subscription service. It's just to try and bring another little bit of income in to help us to keep going, because as you know, doing this stuff is expensive, like seriously expensive. Like we were talking about computers before, and I'm at a stage now where I need to upgrade it, and don't get started on cameras. Like bare body second hand, like the camera I've got is the Sony a6400. It's second or third hand, and the body on its own cost me £1,000. And the lens is like, up in Scotland last week, the lens that I want, me and Lee seen it in CEX's window second hand. It was £1,100. So it's just crazy
Lenses
money.
are so expensive. That's what people got to realize. When people are doing the content creators, they got so much money to invest in doing content. It's crazy. And then, like you said, doing the editing behind the scenes just to make a video.
Yeah, and then it's the time as well. But I absolutely love doing it.
That's the main thing, buddy. As long as you enjoy what you're doing, you can't do anything
definitely. Else. And people can, with a subscription, if they want to subscribe, they get the episodes early. There's going to be subscription stuff only, and that's on. It is on Spotify for that type of stuff. But we are pushing on with it. I'm trying to learn how to do more and more editing stuff. Trying to understand all the audio side of it. Trying to build up. Well, it's not outside in the garage. Trying to build a podcast studio at the minute. I'm going to do a little bit of work on that tomorrow. I'm actually going to record. Excuse me. I'm actually going to record an episode in the unfinished studio next week, but it's all part of it. It's not polished. It's not perfect. It's just me trying to smash down the barriers around the stigma around mental health within our industry, and make that difference for people.
That's good. That's what's your future goal? Where do you want to reach to try and take this all to?
I say I haven't got a goal, but Lee, who we do a lot of Lee Anderson, who we do a lot of work with, he's like, I've got a goal. You do plan things, and I think I'd like to continue. The podcast will never ever go away. The bricklaying side of things is fading out now. I'm getting that busy now with the awareness work that I'm going to be doing more and more of the awareness work rather than the bricklaying side of things. And if I can sustain a living on doing that, going in, I'm doing a lot of public speaking now. I've spoke at the NEC. I've done stuff at the Excel. I've done stuff at Olympia in London as well. And I spoke to on the Make It Visible campaign in that transit that I go around in, a really brightly coloured transit for the Lighthouse Club. As a group, we've spoke to over 8,000 tradespeople. I actually think it's just ticked over 9,000 tradespeople now up and down the country. And I'd love to continue doing that, and maybe even look at getting like a bit of a base, so people can come to us for like a bit of treatment, record podcasts, use the space for whatever they need. And because I live right on the edge of the Peak District, so I've got the prime location to walk out my front door on, and there's amazing views, amazing walks, amazing bike rides, canoeing, whatever you want to do, and just allow people to get away from the everyday life of working on a building site, and continue to build the awareness, and continue to try and get the shocking statistics down around mental health in construction, and just keep pushing forward, keep banging out content.
That's good, mate. That's it, because the statistics are crazy, aren't they?
Yeah, massively.
Within construction, it's like 3 times the average, the national average.
Yeah, it is. So it sort of boils down to, on average, 2 construction workers every single working day will take their own life.
Yeah.
So Monday to Friday, we lose 10 construction workers. Somewhere in the UK and Ireland, 10 construction workers have thought there's no other option than to deal with what they're going through than to take their own lives, which is a sad fact.
It is, yeah, very sad.
When in hopefully doing the work that I do and I'm continuing to do, people could listen to the podcast and think, shit, that's me. I'm going through that at the minute. And if Rob can do it, or if Tony can do it, so can I. It's all about building hope and giving people hope to go out, and confidence to reach out and get that help and support that's out there. And there's amazing people like the Lighthouse Club that are providing that support for people.
I was just about to say that, mate, because funny enough, I'd done a job for a client, and at the time, her son was going through a real bad place, and I recommended the Lighthouse charity to them and yourself. And they got hold of the Lighthouse charity, and I've never met him personally because he lived away, but he messaged me after thanking me for passing the details on for them, because they Lighthouse charity helped him to get into a better place again.
Amazing. That's amazing to hear. Well done.
That's it. It's just nice to anyone else listening to this or watching it. Please contact Rob, Lighthouse Charity, Lee Anderson, anyone like that. Talk to you. Do you know what I mean? Message them privately. They will help you out as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter how deep or hard that the problem is, or how much debt you're in, or how much whatever's going on in your life. As long as you're willing and wanting to get out of that situation, the Lighthouse will be there to support you. We'll be there to support you for as long as you need it. And there is no situation that you can't get yourself out of. You really can't.
Yeah, definitely. So where can people find you, mate?
So if you search anywhere on any social platform, MYH podcast, we used to be called Mind Your Head podcast, but we had a charity in the Shetland Islands try to shut us down because they're called Mind Your Head. And they were saying they've trademarked it all. And then I think I'd done a post and it got loads of traction. And I must have been driving loads of people to their website. And then they're like, who's this person?
Yeah.
But they've been around for 20 years. They're a charity doing mental health, but for people on the Shetland Islands, which is 400 miles north of me. And obviously I'm based in construction, but anyway, we had to change it to MYH podcast. And so yeah, if you search us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, we are on LinkedIn. And if you search my name, it's my full Sunday name on LinkedIn, Robert Muldoon. You'll find us on there on LinkedIn as well. And I'm happy to chat on any platform you want. And we put stuff out pretty regularly. We do 1 podcast a month, but I think that's now probably going to up to 2 podcasts a month. I'm recording another podcast on Everton's ground on Friday. Is it Thursday? To my Friday, I'm going out recording. So nice. Everton are having a new football stadium built.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So the people that are working on there, I know quite a few people, and we're going to go down, record a couple of podcasts down there. We've got Lynch Plant Hire coming on in a couple of weeks. Sean, who's in the background, he's the next guest, and then Nigel will be the one after that. And then I've got a local lad who lives near me, who we're going to sit and record in the new studio, the half-built. There's no electrics to it. It's all done on extension leads, but it's all part of the fun. It's all part of the journey. We're going to record all that, so they're going to be coming out. Like I say, he's probably going to, as from March, he's probably going to bump up to 2 episodes a month, and I'm just going to try and become more efficient on getting the stuff out there.
It's tricky, isn't it, trying to be efficient on the editing side of things and stuff, getting all the content out there. But you know, you're doing an amazing job, mate. Keep it up. You know, it's appreciated by a lot of people. Do you know what I mean? And as you got to have someone like you and the others pushing this out, because you know it's very important, and a lot of people have got to talk about it.
Thank you, mate. I really appreciate that. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't do the work I do now without the help and support of amazing people like yourself, Tony, giving me this platform to come on and talk about the work that I'm doing, because and then it builds and builds and builds for everybody, because there might be somebody out there that doesn't follow me and doesn't know who I am, but obviously follows you and sees the work that you're doing, and they go, oh, actually I might go and check that out. So
100%, mate. Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's all about helping each other out. And say if anything in the future that we can do to help you out, we'll be more than obliging to do so, mate, because we you know, we think a lot about what you do.
Perfect, thank you. I really, really do appreciate that.
Good, mate. So one thing before you go.
Yep.
Last week's guest asked, what came first, the chicken or the egg?
It's got to be the egg, I'd say. The egg would come first. It'll develop from something, and then the chicken will be hatched.
Like it, mate. So what I need from you now. I need you to give me one question for next week's guest. Anything at all.
If you could change one thing in your work, what would it be?
Good. Like it, mate. That's a good one. Well, Rob and everyone else watching tonight, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you contact Rob or myself. Join Rob's social media platforms and myself's. Subscribe to our YouTube channels. Look after yourselves. Take care. Join us in next week, next Wednesday. Thank you very much.
Thank
Cheers,
you,
Rob.
everybody. Thanks for watching. Cheers.